You became very famous, Barry, in the racing game. We'll talk about that a bit later on with Channel 4, but I remember being a floor man in the ring, was almost too scared to ask you for a bet because we get shouted at. You've always had a very strong character. Has that helped you or hindered you?
Well, I don't know. All I know is that's me. That's how I am. I want to be in charge. I wanted to be the top Johnny. I wanted to be there and everybody come to me. So I thought, make a lot of noise. Remember this, I was a street trader, wasn't I, in the early days, 9, 10 and 11, and you had to make yourself vocal. So that's what I wanted to do when I was on the racecourses. Anybody come there, and I don't want people messing me about. Like, I don't come up and spend time. Have a bet, call it, pay the money and get going. Let's move on to the next person. I haven't got time to muck about.
Now, when I was working with bookmakers, I remember being quite near you and you really taking the mickey out of your punters, saying if you nick that out your mum's purse and stuff like that. Did that sort of banter ever backfire?
Yeah, it did on occasions, but I love the banter, I love the repartee, I love having a go, and I don't mind them when they pop me back at all, but sometimes people said, you're the rudest bookmaker I've ever known on course. I told them, I said, listen love, go around the back of the stands, go up, there's an office there, go and knock on the office door and complain about me. But you'll have to wait a long time because there's a big queue of people there waiting to complain about me. But have a bet or go away, I'm in a hurry, okay?
Now you mentioned about the ladies. I do remember you saying that they were a nuisance betting with you at Royal Ascot and the place is heaving with them. Was that tongue in cheek or did you really mean
no,
it?
that's not tongue, that's unbelievable. Let me give you some stats on this. Horse racing runs about every 40-45 minutes at Royal Ascot, doesn't it? There's a £50,000 crowd, £50,000, 50,000 people crowd, right? Of those 50,000, 30,000 of them women dressed up in fine frocks that cost them 200 quid, hats that cost them 200 quid, handbag that cost them £100, pair of ones and twos that cost them another £200, and they come up with a race card and they stand there and they want £1 each way, Frankie or somebody like that. Well, that transaction is going to take probably 30 seconds just to get rid of them, like, you know what I mean? By the way, they never have 2 quid ready. They've always got a £20 note as part of the game. Like, you've got to give them 18 shillings change as well. So what happened was I said, I can't cope with this because I can't take enough money between races to warrant a profit. So I put up a sign on top of the board, no women. Well, actually done me a favour because Claude Duval of the Sun come past, took a photo of it and put it in the Sun on the next page. And the Ascot authorities didn't take too kindly to it either. They made me take it down. But you cannot work with ladies. I love you. I think you're the best ladies in the world. Everybody has a bet at the races. But I'll give you an example. Douglas Erskine Douglas Erskine, anyway, he came to me one day and said, how's the turnover in the ring? I said, fine now. He said, it's difficult on the tote. I said, of course it is. Because you've got women working behind the tote bars, serving women, and they come up and then they say, can I please have 2 shillings place on horse, what horse shall I back? Numbers, and they turn to their friends and say, mate, well, what horse was we going to back for 2 shillings a place? And then when they give the 2 shillings over, and they give them a £10 note, and they say to the woman behind the ramp, they say, what do you think about the price of Dazzies today? Like, I mean, it's quite dear, isn't it? They have a 5-hour conversation. He couldn't take any money, so he put the minimum stake up to £5 just because of what I told him.
For over a decade, you got to say stuff like this on the telly, on Channel 4, and you were liked and possibly disliked in equal measure by people listening to it. How did the Channel 4 and the Writing in the Sun come about?
Well, the Sun came about because of that, when Claude Duval took the picture of me, and then the Channel 4 saw the picture and went to me in the studio one day. And so wherever they had always had a impromptu studio near the racetrack, wherever it was, okay. And the day they called me in was Ascot, and John Frankham laughed, and they all said, you can't do this to your customers, like, you know, you won't have any customers left. And said, well, if they're the customers I've got to have, I don't want any left, okay? I'll go without them, thanks very much. So they said, well, bookmakers, I think McCrick started this one, bookmakers always have a horse they want to lay every day. That's how they make their money. What do you want to lay? Well, I hadn't even looked. So I said, the first favourite, that can't possibly win. I said, got no chance. If it starts now, it can't win. And luck would have it, like, it went from 11:08 to 7:04, and that got beat. So about 2 Saturdays later, the racing was abandoned everywhere in the country apart from Lingfield All-Weather. And so Channel 4 had for the first time ever go to Lingfield All-Weather and do the afternoon racing. So they rang me up on the Friday night and said, Barry, would you come into the studio tomorrow? Lingfield. I said, yeah, what's that about? They said, well, we'd like you to have you on TV because this is your track, Lingfield, you always attend it. And be interesting. So they said, fine. So I put the phone. I said, oh, by the way, we want you to name a loser as well tomorrow, and we're going to call it Barry's Bismarck. I says, where'd you get that from? He says, Alistair Down made the word up because Bismarck should never get sunk or something. And so I said, oh, okay, all right. So I said, what time I'll be there? I said, 8 o'clock. So I turn up at Lingfield 8 o'clock, go on the panel and sit there and say, so-and-so, this can't win today, whatever else. I decided to be the Bismarck. And they said, can you give us some tips on other races as well? I went, well, I'm right, all right, I'm not into tips. And so they wanted 5 tips. There's only 6 races. They wanted 5 tips. Well, can you believe, Simon? 4 of the tips won, and the Bismarck got beat like it. I mean, well, went out. I was walking on clouds when I went away that night, and I thought that was the end of it. Well, the following week, they said, now we've given the job to John McCrick to name the loser. So he straight away put up an even money chance that won 15 lengths, didn't it? So the next Saturday, they said, it wasn't very good last week, John. What is your tip this week? So he put up a 6-4 chance that won 20 lengths, didn't it? Like, you know what I mean? So next week I get a phone call, Barry, please come back. Like, you know, we're getting slaughtered here. So I went back giving Bismarcks on the programme every Saturday morning, and once again, listen, it's all about fortune and it's Simon, what happens in life. And I gave 10 consecutive losers on the spin every Saturday morning, and that was it. They wanted me permanently then, didn't they?
So, be honest with us, was that the result of serious hours studying the form, or was it a guess-up?
Serious hours studying form? I've never studied form in my life. I went down the programme, the first time I saw an even money chance on the list, I'll have that one, that'll do. Listen, I don't study form.
You mentioned Ascot, Barry, and I did ask you previously if you were there when Frankie Dettori did his Magnificent 7, and you replied that you were. Can you, everybody likes to hear a bad story about bookmakers. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, I was on that particular day. After 3 or 4, I wasn't even aware that Frankie Dettori had ridden the first 3 or 4 winners. Do you know that? I'd probably lost on a few of them, not particularly. There was nothing sensational about the day at all. Then after the 6th race, suddenly there was a buzz going on all around Ascot, and I said, listen, little stupid man. I said, what's the buzz? I said, Dettori's ridden the first 6 winners. I said, oh, what's it called? Blimey. Okay, this will be short then, won't it? This next one, which was in the lunchtime, it has been 10-1. It was a big handicap. I can't remember how many runners, but plenty of runners. It was a 10-1 chance in the early betting. So some people put up 5-1 and got slaughtered. And I thought, they're mad taking this sort of price about this. Oh, I'll put up 5-2. Bosh, 2,500 at 1, Barry, 2,500 at 1. Officers coming in asking for 2,500 at 1. Also, it was 10-1, 3 or 4 hours before. They must be off their conkers. They must be mad. Who'd want to take 5-2 something that was 10-1 2 or 3 hours earlier? Took it out, 904, 904. They just kept hitting me all the time. My poor son Patrick, who used to work with me on Saturdays, he used to get 50 quid a day for working for me. That was too much money, but because it's my son, I paid him that much. So he said, Dad, can I take £200 out of this? He said, yeah, of course you can, son. You've laid a 502 as well. Yeah, I'll be pleased to pay you. Yeah, pleased to pay you. I stood there watching the race. He was in front about a mile out. And I thought, that's good, because he's got to get beat now, because once you hit the front a mile out, like, you know, you can't hang on, can you? Even Frankie Dettori can't do that. So it come to the bend, turning in 3 or 4 furlongs, and he was still in front. And my eyes, I went into a trance. I was looking up at the sky, at the clouds going past, thinking, am I hearing this right? Frankie Dettori, still in front, still in front, still in front. I was transfixed. For the last 100 yards, I couldn't move. I think it was Doug Smith or somebody come up, challenged it, and never went through with it. And he hung on and won half a length. £27,000 I'd just done. 27. I'd never earned that before in God knows how long, and now I've got that. So how am I going to get out of this? I don't know. We all drove home in silence. Not a word was said in the car. Nobody dared talk. I dropped them off, got home to my house here, and went in through the front door, and Marion said, oh, hello, darling, did you have a good day? I said, Frankie Dettori rode 7 winners. She said, oh, marvellous, she said. I said, yeah, thanks very much. I went and sat down and got the Scotch bottle out. I was drinking it by the neck, wasn't I? But I'd had a retirement pension thing going for years and years, been paying it for 30 years probably. wasn't a hell of a lot of money every week, but I had to cash that in, lose all my pension funds all in one go. I think I got my money back after 30 years of what I'd paid in just to pay off all the debts, but we paid them, but that was the worst day. And the drive home in silence and getting indoors, killing. Don't ever do it.
Now, not everybody likes to hear about bookmakers losing. I like to hear about them winning. So can you tell us about any memorable good days?
Well, I was never one to... I believed in let the money come to you. Don't force it. Don't ever force anything. Let it come to you and play the game. As you do in betting shops. You can't force it in betting shops because it makes no difference. You couldn't in them days. You just had to accept what people come up to the counter and had a bet. And so I used to work on that system. Remember, we was always working at big margins, and so I was happy to lay any sort of bet at the price that was on the board. Well, it was the first race at Cheltenham. I don't know if it was the first day or before the first race. I beg your pardon, it wasn't the first race. Before the first race, Big Mac come over and said, "Barry, we're going to come over and interview you, you know what I mean, about the day's business." He said, "We're going to go on to the, there's a 3-mile race in which JP McManus had a runner. I think it was called Barracuda. Very good horse. And so it'd been 5-4 everywhere in the morning, and never better, 11% 5-4. So I said, right, I'm going to make this my Bismarck, guys. And I'm going to put 11-8 on the board. All the people cluster around whenever McCruick comes with the cameras. They're all there wanting to wave and God knows what, and we'll take a nice few quid out. Be a good profile to take bloody this at 11-8. So I put up 11-8, 20 quid, 40 quids, and 10 quids, 60 quids. And so Big Mouth McCruick said, "Well, go on, go 6-4, Dennis." And so, yeah, 6-4 of Heald. JP McManus's head popped up. He said, £40,000, Barry. And now I've got a big crowd listening, haven't I? So I said, "Yes, John, £40,000, 60,000 of 40, thank you. But I've got to be bold, I can't be frightened." So I left it on the board. He said, "Oh, was that enough, Barry?" I said, No, you got another 20, £60,000. He said, "Okay, fine, if that's what you want to lay." I said, "John, you got £80,000 at 6-4, 120,000 to 80. He said, "Thank you very much, Barry," and walked away. Well, the whole ring's alive now. They've all heard him have 80,000 quid at 6-4. It's 11-10 in places all the way around now. No, McCruick's gone away, spread it on television. Barry Dennis just laid 6-4 to £80,000. JP, oh, thanks very much indeed, John. So now I've got to sit and sweat it out. Well, the top men keep getting bets sent over from the small ring to lay. And it'd gone back to 5-4, 11-8. So I went to the top man. I said, "Any 6-4, I'm in it. Don't even worry about it, just return it. I will back it at 6-4 to any amount of money." I was lucky enough to get about 15 grand on a thing at 6-4. So there it is. I've got it stuck up my nuts for about £100,000, don't I, or something like that. Well, it came down the hill, 2 lengths in front of a horse. Remember, I told you I'm old, I can't remember the names of these horses. You lot will look it up and remember which one it was. And they were a distance clear. And the horse in second place was being flogged to death. I thought, oh my God, here we go. Like, I mean, put your bicycle clips on, Barry, because the diarrhea was running down my legs, wasn't it? Like, you know what I mean? Anyway, so what happened? God was a bookmaker. This horse that was in second place, look it up all you lot, you'll remember it, come and done it on the line, Barracuda, didn't it? And so there it was, I finished up winning over 60 grand on that race. JP come back the next race and had a 90,000 to 20 something that didn't particularly shorten up, but he got beat. And he gave me a cheque for 100 grand on the day, and that's what I won on the day.